Hello, Page Chasers. Welcome, welcome. We have our wonderful April Book of the Month author, Morgan Harper Nichols, talking to us about how far you've come on our hot seats. Hi, Morgan.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited about your book. Excited to have you on the hot seat. And without any further ado, I think we'll cue the anxiety music and just ask you a bunch of crazy questions and answer really fast.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, and then we'll get more into your beautiful book. But first, we got to do this. So, fast and fun. Are you ready?
Yes, I think.
Okay. Instagram or TikTok?
Insta-talk. I'm kidding. Instagram.
Insta-talk.
I can't choose.
Can't choose.
I can't choose.
Yeah. I'm 28 and I feel like I'm too old for TikTok. So
I'm 31. No, we gotta hold on. We're still young. We got this.
Okay. All right. You're cooler than me though, so I don't know. All right. We'll keep rolling. Rom-coms?
No, it's a lot to take in for sure.
It is. Yeah.
But it's
rom-coms or thrillers as far as movies?
Rom-coms.
Absolutely. What are your favorites?
Oh wow. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of some good ones now. Why is the first one that came to mind 27 Dresses?
Wow.
I watched that one
so
much in college. I think I had it memorized. I don't know why, but
yeah. That's awesome. And that's Katherine Heigl, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was.
She was in every single rom-com for a while there.
Oh yeah, she for sure. Yeah, she made lots of classics.
I did. Mine was always You've Got Mail. Tom Hanks. Meg Ryan.
No, that one is the ultimate. I can't believe I didn't say that one. Yes.
No, I can't talk about rom-coms without talking about You've Got Mail, because you get Dave Chappelle in there. I mean, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think like they made this whole movie around email. Like that's just such a wild thing now.
It's like, I
want to go watch that.
And it was
again.
so like cool back then. You know, they were like, oh my god.
Wow. I'm
okay,
glad.
All right, next one. Seinfeld or Friends?
Friends.
Okay, all right. Book or ebook?
Book.
Yeah. I just love the smell. I can't, you know. I do the terrible thing of having them on all three platforms. Like I'll get audio, ebook.
I do the same thing.
And I'm like, man, I just spent $45 on the same book. What?
I literally do the same thing. I'm like, I'm not sure this is the best economical decision, but I'm the same way. I'm like, I need to have it, especially if it's really good. Yeah.
And now sometimes like your audiobook can sync up with your ebook, so it like follows along, and it's so nice.
I know.
Okay, sorry.
I'm right.
And okay, podcast or audiobook?
Podcast, actually.
Podcast.
I have a little one.
Talking about you're a host. You're hosting one. So why don't you tell us about that real quick?
Yeah, I have a podcast. I couldn't think of a fun name, so it's just my name, Morgan Harper Nichols. And I just I love talking to people who are storytellers and doing interesting things in the world. So yeah, I've talked to all kinds of people. But yeah, I have a little one. So I don't have as much time these days to immerse myself in audiobooks. So podcasts are just great these days.
Yeah. Podcasts
kind of listen here and there. Yeah.
All right. Well, you hear that, Page Chasers? Go check out her podcast. And then next question. This is a tough one. Little Women or Pride and Prejudice?
Oh, Little Women. No questions asked about that. I don't know.
No hesitation.
I have one sister, and I think just their dynamic, I was just so envious of that. I was just like, what is this?
Who didn't want to be Joe? Who didn't want to be Joe? You know?
Yeah, Joe. Yeah. Goals ever since I was
she's the best. Yeah, I was like, oh man, why I was fighting with my siblings. They were putting on plays. Like,
it was just like this. It was otherworldly and so fascinating. Yeah, lovely.
And which of those movies do you like, the old one or the new one more?
You know, I regrettably have not seen the new one yet. And is it crazy to say that I feel like that one's going to be my favorite? How does that happen? Like, I just love Greta's work, and I'm just like, I feel like it's a given.
Greta,
I feel like
my gosh,
I haven't even, so I have very high expectations.
Good. I mean, Frances Ha. Have you seen that one by Greta?
You know, yeah.
It's so good, but I love and then Sarah Shee is so great. The new one's fantastic. I love the old one too. I honestly can't choose.
Yeah.
I really can't. Okay, so we'll go with our next question. So, this is not an or question. So what's your favorite coffee or hot drink? What's your go-to writing drink?
Oh, I am really boring. I'm just a good old fashioned cup of coffee, whatever's on sale. I mean, is it Dunkin' Donuts? Is it
Absolutely.
Folgers or Folgers? I don't even know. It's I do love like fancy coffee, but I personally cannot. My husband knows more about like making espressos and pour overs. So unless I want to wait on him, it ends up being just super basic most days. But I will literally
Yeah.
take coffee in almost any form.
So
So
it's mostly, it's
hot,
a
cold,
fuel,
like it's yeah, it really
really.
is. That's like it's grounding for me. I don't now that
Hmm.
we're talking about it, I'm not even sure I write without coffee now that I think about
No,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like you get the coffee and then you're right. Those two is paired together. So
Absolutely. No, I mean, the straight black coffee, that's the mark of the writer. You're just drinking it to
yeah.
get it done.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we're back to some or questions. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas.
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
like gifts.
kind of the obvious choice. As I've gotten older, I've started liking Thanksgiving more. And I think it's just because it's the focus is on the food. There's no messing around.
Uh
Like now with the
yeah.
presents, it's I'm like, okay, I could use another pair of socks, but like, what about
Yeah.
everybody talking about the thing that matters here, the food?
Oh my gosh. See, I'm the opposite. And I think it's probably like even just being a female, there's so much expectation of like, what are you bringing to Thanksgiving? And I don't do that. I don't cook. I don't
Uh, See, I don't
so
let the rest of my family cook it. I take it over and cook everything. So
oh
I think that's the difference.
wow. Okay, yeah. That's I don't even know.
My
I know
brother does the
nothing about
bird,
that.
and then I do the side dishes. Yeah.
Yeah, I know nothing about that.
Well, okay. I guess yeah, a lot
Yes.
of people would pick Christmas. And in that same vein, are you a fan of pies? Do you have a sweet tooth?
Yes.
So
Yes.
would you pick apple pie or pumpkin pie?
Pumpkin pie for sure.
That's a desperately hard question to me because I love them
Really?
both so
Oh
dearly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all about the crust at the core of it. Like that's my favorite thing, but the pumpkin, yeah, definitely pumpkin over apple. My favorite of all is sweet potato pie. That is my favorite. So,
Yeah,
but yes, pumpkin's
that's
good.
delicious. All
Yeah.
right, and our last fast and fun question: dog ear or bookmark?
Dog ear. I wish I was.
Oh, and we
I
were
know.
getting
It's
along
only
so
because I'm
well.
unorganized and I can't keep up with my bookmarks.
Ah,
And also my son
that
pulls
breaks my
them
heart.
out. So
Oh
it's like, oh,
no.
bookmark slip. So
Well,
unfortunately,
that's a
I
justifiable
have, yeah, it's just all these little things you just don't think about. It's like, oh yeah, of course that's interesting to you. Let's just pull this piece of
yeah.
paper right off. So
Not that that was important. Okay.
regrettably a dog ear person. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, no, I mean you justified it. I don't think anybody could get mad about that.
Yeah. I love that question though. That's a
Okay,
good one.
yeah, yeah,
They were all fun. Those were really
it's been a
fun.
recurring theme for the page chasing community.
Love it.
Yeah, it does. It hurts my heart though every time I see it. That poor page.
Boy, you didn't ask for that. You've been through so much just to be
Who
dog-eared.
knows? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so let's talk about your book. How far
Yes.
you have come.
Yes. I'm so
It is
excited.
gorgeous.
Thank you.
I mean, I have so many questions. I've gotten to see it. I know at this point when we're recording this video, it hasn't been released yet, but it's our April book of the month, and we love it. So where did it come from? What was the inspiration? Why did you write it?
Yeah, so I interestingly enough, prior to the pandemic, I had stopped traveling as much as I used to in my early 20s. I was a jet setter. I was in the music
Hmm.
industry. I was traveling a lot. And I was getting to a point where I was realizing, wow, my life has changed a lot. Like I'm not, I'm not going as many places. And there's some grief with that for sure. For me, at least, it was like, wow, life is changing. And I found myself just literally going through my phone's camera roll and finding these photos that I had taken on the road on my phone that were honestly beautiful, surprisingly beautiful to me. It's just like, wow, I just took that picture of that sunrise from that hotel just passively, But now that I'm looking at it a year later, 2 years later, I'm like, that's really beautiful. So it actually started very visually, just literally going through my camera roll, finding moments in my own life where I thought I was just passing through, just going from one place to the other, and it sparked memories for me. And the cover of the book is actually one of those photos. And it was a photo I took on my iPhone driving through New Mexico at sunrise. And that photo it's my favorite photo I've ever taken. And what I love about that photo is beautiful. And at the same time, that day, I was just your classic 20 something, tired and broke, like stressed out about life. And I just became fascinated by this concept of like two things happening at once. It's like many of us have literal photos. We have literal poems that we've written or whatever that are beautiful. And at the same time, life was chaotic. There was so much uncertainty. So that is what started, honestly, the process of the book. And I end up going through 8 states. I started in Georgia, where I grew up, and I go through Alabama, Mississippi, all the way to California. And I stop in all of those places and I tell stories from the road and just kind of what I learned about beauty and hope in all of those landscapes amidst all of the the failures and all of the things that I was experiencing in those places. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. It's just this pastiche of essays and poems and beautiful
Yeah.
pictures. It's amazing.
Thanks.
I grew up in the Southeast as well, so I understand. You know, long road trips are inevitable with
Yes.
states. People from the Northeast and other parts of the country don't realize how big our
Oh,
states are down here
yeah.
and how long it takes to drive through Georgia and I mean
Oh my
everywhere.
gosh. To get from Atlanta to Disney World, I mean, it's like a
Like the
lifetime.
length, people have no idea how long the state of Florida
Oh, yeah. Florida. Yeah, it
is.
takes forever. So, yes, I have spent
Yeah.
lots of time on the road. A lot of it is just getting out of Atlanta, where I grew up, because Atlanta's like in the heart of the state. And to get
Mhm.
anywhere, it's at least 2 hours.
I mean, the heart
Um,
of the South, really. You could
yeah.
like that city is.
Yeah. So the story actually starts at the Atlanta 1996 Olympics. And we were
Oh
taking a
man.
road trip to California, and I was 6 years old. And I just remember just the glimpses of that moment. And it was just so interesting looking back, because I was like, wow, that moment actually taught me a lot about like diversity and the global community and all these things, which of course I wasn't picking up on that when I was 6. But when I look back on it, it's like, wow, there's a lot here. So one thing I'm really happy about with the stories in this book is I don't think any of my stories are particularly like dramatic, or they're not like these huge stories that, on their own would be turned into a movie. But my hope is that people can read through it and like, oh, I have stories like this too. Like, what did those little moments of my life that I remember, what did that teach me? So yeah, a lot of the poems and the illustrations are definitely inspired by that, for sure.
Man, that's so cool. What did you make many connections between this new book and your previous one all along you were blooming? Well, what was the kind of the bridge between these two?
Yes. So all along, You Were Blooming was very inspired by nature, specifically flowers, hence the title. That was kind of and again, it was very visual. It was kind of the first thing I learned how to draw, really. So I started making digital art a few years ago on my iPad, and I know nothing about making art. And I was like, well, I'm just going to try to paint flowers, I guess. And that just ended up becoming a recurring theme. And I think what ended up kind of happening with those poems was just, wait, there's a lot more to a flower than just a flower. There's actually stories about my own growth that come from a flower. And I write a lot with other people in mind. I'm always DMing and emailing people in my community and wanting to write with them in mind. And I would say that that process is exactly the same with the new book. Even though I'm a writer, it rarely ever starts with words. It starts with images. It starts with, because I think that connects us. Because a lot of times when, I write a lot about finding peace and working through anxiety and just being disappointed in different things. And a lot of times for situations like that, we don't know exactly what to say. So I like to find like universal themes that we can still connect around. And that's how I felt about flowers. I was just painting them thinking this can connect two completely different people in the world who maybe don't even speak the same language or even believe all of the same things, but yeah, there's something about that that connects them. So that was really the bedrock of that book.
Mhm.
And I feel like I've done that again with How Far You Have Come. I've just expanded it to the landscape. So I started with the flower, then it's like, well, let's zoom out a little bit, like let's look at the whole flower field and see what we see. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw so much of like the 18th century romantic poets and How Far You Have Come, like just like in like seeing the landscape and like the
That
ordinary
means so
sublime,
much.
like you get a little like I don't know, Charlotte Smith, Coleridge, a little Wordsworth. Like it's just my my bachelor's degree was came flooding back to me. I was like, oh man, I love this. This connection to the
Yes.
landscape is it's just such a deeply oh, I'm you're the writer. It's just a visceral place, you know. It's wonderful to see it and put in a modern context.
Thank you for observing that, because that is something I've been very inspired by. I mean, I feel like the poets I've been inspired by are from kind of a large over a huge span of time. I'm all over the place with that, but I have just been very, that word landscape has always just been very important to me, because um I think a lot about how, we pre-pandemic we've moved a lot in our society. We're going here and there, but a lot of the older writers, they would be on one landscape for a long period of time. I mean, if you look at someone like Emily Dickinson and what she was able to create, just literally stuck in her family's house, and like everything from just staying there, then her mom gets ill and she's there taking care of them. It's like, and then she also had this whole gardening thing that she started all while she was writing poems. And I think that in a lot of ways, our modern society is, we don't have to kind of stay in one landscape for a while anymore. So we kind of are able to float here and there and go back and forth. And I think that, well, that's great. I love to travel. It does make it hard to kind of reflect and see what the landscape itself can teach us. So that's kind of why I wanted to divide that book that way. For instance, in Arizona, it's about the canyons and what that meant to me as a child. And I hope that the canyon's kind of its own character in that way. So yeah, I could
Absolutely.
talk about that all day. I
Yeah, no,
love
I
that.
mean, I think that's wonderful. Who are some of your other favorites, poets, authors, any
Oh,
artists, musicians, anybody?
yeah.
Who are you really digging right now?
Yes. Oh gosh. Right now, I'm all over the place. I'm just looking at my desk. I'm like, I've been
Yeah.
all over the place lately. But historically, for me, the first poet that I was like, this is, I whatever that is, I want to be a part of that. It was T.S. Eliot, and it was
Oh
reading the
man,
final
yeah.
lines of Proof Rock, and I was just like an awkward 14-year-old in the library and just flipping through this book, and I found this poem. And I mean this in all seriousness. I'm just like, how does this old white guy who's no longer alive, how is he speaking to my soul so much? This doesn't
I
make
mean,
sense. We have nothing
the
in
fact that
common.
you were relating to T.S. Eliot at 14 shows that you were destined for greatness. I mean, I was reading The Wasteland at like 22. Like, I have no idea what this guy's saying. So
Oh,
that's
this is
fantastic.
another story. Yeah. But there's this line in Proof Frog where he says, he's talking about the mermaids not singing to him, and he's getting kind of lost
Mhm.
in that. And he says, till human voices wake us and we drown. And that line was just, yeah, to me, I was like, I feel that. I may not be able to completely understand what he's talking about, but I felt that so deeply. And from there, the next poet that I really kind of latched onto is Maya Angelou, because that was just like another whole experience of seeing her in the early days of YouTube. I remember seeing like some of her videos uploaded on YouTube, and just, I'm like, she's not even reading the page. These poems are just flowing out of her. This is like, what is that? That is amazing. So those are two, I would say that those are two bedrocks for me that I
Mm-hmm.
still kind of go to a lot. And oh gosh, it's so hard to narrow down. I'm just like looking at my shelf behind me.
I know.
I'm
That's why
just like,
I like to try to
where do I even
like.
begin? But Rita Dove is another poet,
Mhm.
former poet laureate. She actually all the poet laureates, everyone from Amanda Gorman and Gwendolyn Brooks, like the whole crew. There we go. Joy Harjo. Yeah, I would say that because I could go on and on about this, but I would say the poet laureates. Literally, I am a super fan of every single one. So, yeah.
So okay, well, what about some authors? Any books you've been reading lately?
Yes, I actually just started rereading one of my it was one of my favorite books last year, and I'm reading it again, and that is Beauty by John O'Donohue, another favorite poet of
Okay.
mine.
Yeah.
Just he is, I feel like in terms of writing about the landscape, I mean, he writes a lot
Hmm.
about Ireland, and oh yeah, there's for me, there's nothing like his writing. I am really because I'm still writing myself, and I get in my head a lot, and I'm like, well, I need to go to the writers that I love. I need to go back to the books
Hmm.
that I just get lost in, and maybe some of that will just rub off on me. So that's the one that I have picked up lately that has been really cool. And then I picked up this other book lately called The Art of Noticing, which is a
Hmm.
book by an artist, and he just gives all of these incredible exercises, like just simple things that you can try to make art throughout the day. So that's been exciting because I have been trying to stay inspired in these times. I'm
Yeah.
home. I'm home quite a lot. So yeah, that's what I've been up to reading
Well,
wise.
that's a perfect lead into to our next question, which is, what's your process like? It sounds like you try to submerge yourself in your favorite works a lot. What else? What are some things you do to keep the inspiration flowing for these wonderful works?
Oh, well, thank you. I am I am just a huge fan of other writers and art. So I would say that most of my process is just taking in a lot of art. I mean, right before we talked, what we're talking now, I was literally just scrolling through Pinterest for about 20 minutes, just pinning art. I was just like, oh, that's pretty. I've never heard of that artist. So I naturally just gravitate. I'm just like, just feed me all of the good art in whatever medium it comes. So I would say that I actually spend, outside of just regular daily tasks, I actually spend most of the day just trying to take things in and just be inspired by other people. So I spend a lot of time reading emails from readers, and that really inspires me. I love to be able to talk one-on-one with people. And then I typically write and make art from early in the morning till around 11 or noon on most days. And because after about noon, I've got nothing. I am a morning writer. I get up
Hmm.
early, I write, and I will say I didn't have it broken down that way until I became a parent. That's that's definitely new. I was definitely more of kind of like, oh, just whenever I feel like it here and there. But now I have to have that schedule because, the house is only quiet for so many hours. So I have to write. But yeah, I will honestly say my favorite part of the process is taking in other art. Like, I guess I just love to be entertained. I watched WandaVision today at like 10 a.m. I mean, that was really inspiring. So yeah, I'm all over the place in that way.
That's awesome. So what like kind of coming from that point of view of just being inspired, what kind of advice would you give to aspiring poets, artists, authors? What do you tell us out there who are trying to make art in these pandemic times?
Oh, yes. Oh, I would say just take in art and dig until that you find the stuff that you are just bursting to talk about, because I think a lot of the best creativity a lot of times just comes with people just being fans of other people's work and wanting to just join in on that conversation. And I think that that is if you are someone who is spending a lot of time at home, it's like, well, we're on the internet all the time now. We have these screens. It's like, let's make it useful. Let's find some interesting blogs. I mean, nothing wrong with social media, but I think it's a different experience between like just opening a social media app and just letting things find you versus you being the one digging to find new artists and to find new blogs and to find new books and to find new documentaries. I just feel like, to me, that just feels like something different. And I've been trying to spend most of my time on my devices doing that. So I literally created, this is so nerdy and specific, but I'll share it because it may be practical for someone. I have two things. I have a notes app on my phone, and I have a Google Sheets document that literally has like new blogs that I found. So when I open that phone mindlessly, I don't go to Instagram and I go click on one of those blogs. And I just go read there and I'm like, oh, this is also a good way to buy time, because a lot of us are doing that right now. It's hard when there's so many restrictions. But yeah, I think we just have to find new ways of being filled up. And then when those moments come where we're so filled up, then the moments will come where we're ready to share and create again. So yeah, I think the final thing I would say is take the pressure off yourself to create the life-changing work during the pandemic. I think that for me, I'm giving myself permission to, I may not know what to say about this from a literary standpoint until like a decade from now. And that's okay. Like, I don't have to figure out what is my big pandemic. Like, no, this is a really tough time, and we can be gentle with ourselves and take every little moment we can to find things that bring us joy. And then when we're ready to create and ready to share, I think it'll naturally flow out. So yeah.
I mean, I think that's incredible advice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us and for taking the time to talk to us. We're so excited about your new book. We'll be talking about it all month long. And thanks for checking us out, Page Chasers. All right, bye guys.
Thanks.